Okay, so I want to talk to you about how to work with negative numbers. One of the most common mistakes I see is I will see this, minus 7 minus 3 equals 10. And when I ask people how they got that answer, they say, well, I've got a negative here and a negative here, so that makes a positive. But this is incorrect. What this really means is that I'm going down by 7, and then I'm going down by another 3, so that equals minus 10 in total. So I'm going to show you something that I taught myself as a child. I found negative numbers really difficult, so I kind of thought of it in terms of multiplication. I'm going to explain that now, and then in the next video I'll show you a different way, so you can pick the one that you like. So I don't know if you ever noticed, but when you see things like 7a, if any two things kind of touch or rub together in maths, they actually mean times. So when you see minus 7, because that negative is touching that 7, it really means negative 1 times 7, because in maths we never write the number 1. We use just a symbol. So for instance, when we see minus a, that really means minus 1 lots of a, or 1 lot of negative a. They're the same thing. But I like to think of it as this. So every time I see a negative, I think of it as negative 1 times a. Now, this is where the trick comes. Signs only affect each other or interact if they're multiplying. And you know if they're multiplying if they're rubbing together or touching, like they are here. So for example, let's get rid of that. If you saw negative 7 minus 5, these two signs are touching, so they're interacting, but this one is just by itself, so it's not having any effect. So this would really mean minus 7 minus minus, which makes a positive, and I'm going to explain why in a second, 5. Okay, so really this means we're going down by 7, but then from there we're going up by 5. So the end calculation is where we end up to here. So the difference between 7 and 5 is 2, so we actually end up with positive 2. And a good way to check that is, no, negative 2, what a muppet. Okay, and a good way to check that, so that's how I spotted my mistake, is if you have a larger negative number, it's not going to be cancelled out by the smaller positive. So you've gone down further than you've gone up, so your answer must be negative. So this is how I remember how signs interact. So if good things happen to good people, well, that's fair, so that's positive. If bad things happen to bad people, well, that's fair too, so that's positive. But if bad things happen to nice people, to good people, that's unfair, so that's negative. And if good things happen to bad people, well, that's unfair, so that's negative. So good things happening to good people, that's fair. Bad things happening to bad people, that's fair, so that's negative. But bad things happen to nice people, to good people, that's not really nice, that's not fair, so that's negative, and vice versa. The other way you could look at it is, why I don't like signs is I think of them as racist. If they're both the same, they get on, so they're happy. But if they're different, they fight, and that's bad. So it's positive when they don't fight, but it's negative when they do fight. So if they're different, they fight, and that's bad, so it's negative. But when they don't fight, that's positive.